Namaskaram to everyone. Indeed, touched by all the love and affection you all have shared yesterday through the various avenues. Indeed, very blessed, and my sincere salutations and namaskaram to everyone. Hari Om. So the last week we did the the 10th verse, an outstanding section of the text, an outstanding message where he said, Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangham tyaktva karoti yaha. He who does his actions, offering them as an oblation to Brahman, Brahmani adhaya. Adhaya means you have placed your thoughts, you got yourselves anchored, you got yourselves fixed, you got yourselves absorbed, you got yourselves established, you got yourselves consumed, you got yourselves interested only in Brahman. Brahmani adhaya karmani. Karmani, various actions are performed. Various multifold actions are performed, but when you are performing these multifold actions, Brahmani adhaya, your mind is totally absorbed, anchored, established, consumed in the attainment of Brahman. So this verse talks about a jnani who is an advanced spiritual, a sannyasi, isn't it? The previous two verses, the 8th and 9th verse, spoke about a jnani who, having reached that state of Brahman, he operates from the state of Brahman. Once who has reached that state of consciousness, once who has become the truth, for him there's nothing more that needs to be done. He becomes the enlivening principle. He becomes the consciousness. In the presence of the consciousness, in the presence of the Brahman, in the presence of that self, everything happens. In the Atma Bodha, which we are studying, when we get to that, you will realize it. He says, he describes the consciousness as a king, like a Raja Vatsada, he says. A king doesn't do anything. He doesn't have to do anything. When royalty were to make themselves available at a particular occasion or a function, do they need to go, do they need to bother when they are going there to a different town? Will there be a vehicle available to pick them up at the airport? Will the stay organized? Will the food be taken care of? Is security taken care of? Everything will be done. The fact that their calendar is set, let's say next week they're traveling to a certain place. 2 months before that, 6 months before that, so much preparations are done just for the arrival of the king or the royalty. In his presence, everything happens, but he doesn't do anything. That is the state of Atman, that's the state of Brahman. So when a jnani reaches that state of enlightenment, in his presence, everything happens, but he doesn't do anything. Therefore, he says, I do nothing at all. But what's happening? Pashyan, Shrunvan, Sprushan, Jignan, Ashnan, Gachan, Swapan, Shwasan. You know, the various things that's happening, the various activities. He is just a mere witness. So it is difficult to understand what was said in verse 8 and 9. It is just a matter of information you must have. Now, verse 10, he says, it's a little lower level, the top level. First, he talks of a jnani. Then here he talks of a sannyasi. Now, how is sannyasi operating? Now, he has not yet reached Brahman, but what he has ensured is his thoughts are transfixed on Brahman alone. Now, what we understand from here is, it is not where you are, it is not what you do, but where are your thoughts? So, get your thoughts clearly fixed on Brahman. The moment your thoughts are fixed on Brahman, remember the law of attachment. The law of attachment is, as you think, so you become. When you keep thinking of it, invariably you will become it. Yesterday, end of the day, I got a call from my relative from Chennai, and it was lovely talking to her. And then, how is family? And I've known the family through after there was a marriage in the family, then it became relationships, very close, a lot of warmth amongst us. So I said, I've known the family for a while, and I said, how is everyone at home? He said, everyone is fine. How is your son? Is he back in Chennai? Yes, he is very much back in Chennai now. And then she said, last year when he finished his graduation, he got a job, and he had to be placed outside of Chennai. He was somewhere up in the north, and it was a miserable separation, she was saying. So difficult to leave the son, and son had to first time leave home and work somewhere, and then she got used to it. And all the while she was praying, I wish I had my son with me. I wish I had son with me. And then she said, just before lockdown, somewhere in January, her son got transferred from wherever he was working to Chennai. Now she says, I'm fed up of seeing this fellow. Now every day he's only working from the house. Now I'm telling him, go out and meet your friends and come. And then she said, look at my thought, my prayers were answered. I wanted him to be in the house, and he came in house, permanently in the house. Now my prayer is, I want him to go out of the house. Not in little terms, but I'm only trying to tell you, the law of life is, if you're true to anything, it will happen. It is thy commandment. Remember that. Your thoughts are very, very powerful. And if only you take out your selfishness from your thoughts and just entertain the mere sankalpa, I tell you that mere sankalpa is so profound and so powerful, you will get whatever you want. You will get the object of desire. You will get your goal. What is between you and your goal is just a sankalpa, just a thought. Remember this. Many years ago, I went to meet someone in a company, Ernst & Young, in Hyderabad here, 20 years ago. Went to meet the head of a department for some seminar. And then as I was sitting there, I saw their caption. And the caption read, we are just a thought away. And that's the only time I walked into that office. It's the only time I saw that phrase, and it got stuck into my mind. That phrase says, we are just a thought away. Means what is in between them and their achievement is just the fact that they want to do it or not. So if you are able to entertain a thought genuinely, with our utmost purity and sincerity, with all the dedication and commitment, you will get to the object of your desire. You will get to the goal. So if you genuinely entertain the thought of Brahman, what will happen? You will get to Brahman. Brahmani adhaya karmani. Now the problem is, you are unable to entertain the thought of Brahman. Are you able to entertain the thought of Brahman? How many of you are able to entertain the thought of Brahman? Everything that you do. Like when you're having food, we chant a mantra. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaivate Nagantavyam. You chant a mantra before you have prasadam, food. When you rise, the first thing is you chant Pratasmarami hridi samsfuradatma tattvam Satchit Sukham Paramaham Sagatim Turiyam. Okay. Then with the sunrise, you do the Gayatri Mantra. Before the class, you do Sahana Bhavatu. Whenever you greet someone, you say Hari Om. At the end of the day, you do Sandhya Vandanam. Again, Gayatri Mantra. So right throughout the day, you find there are various reminders, there are various prayers, there are various interceptions. Your activities, your routine, mundane, meaningless, purposeless life is injected, is intercepted with such divine thought, with such divine thought of Brahman. What is the objective? The objective is every activity you do, you must dedicate that thought to Brahman, that action to Brahman. Now, with this intention, even in the olden days, even now, unless, but nowadays we are very modern, we keep changing our names. You know, olden days, what used to happen? What used to happen? Even the name you're given, name of a god or a goddess, isn't it? Everything is divinized, names of gods. So there was a servant whose name was Govinda, a very faithful servant to the family. And the head of the family, was sick. He was ailing. And no sooner, he was actually his deathbed. But all his life, he was pakka, materialistic, mundane fellow. All the time he was thinking of Kanchana and Kamini. Only the world. Nothing else interested him. So much his family told many a time to think of the Lord, think of Govinda. He even told Bhaja Govindam, you read something. I'm not interested in all this. So in his deathbed, any time doctor said, maybe he has got a week or two, nothing more than that, nothing can be done. In his age and one by one organ is packing up. I said the best is we can't do much. And everybody came to terms to it. Age and everyone has to go. But the lady had one thought. There were few servants in the house. What she said is, she made sure that Govinda will be attending to her husband the next 2 weeks until whenever, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he will be his personal assistant, take care of him. There are a few servants, but she said Govinda. With the only objective is that whenever he needs something, he will have to call out. Hey Govinda, and the towel kondu vaapa. Hey Govinda, where is my water? Hey Govinda, where is this? Something he will need because he's bedridden. Get that wheelchair, Govinda. I want to just sit up. Can you just adjust this? Every time he will have to call Govinda with the option, with the intention of thought that somehow even by calling the servant's name Govinda, the thought of Govinda will go into his head. Now you see the idea why his wife appointed Govinda to attend to his works. But this fellow, all his life, he had never thought of higher. Instead of calling Govinda, he would call, Ade Muttala, Enga Pani. He would never even call the word Govinda. Tinkima, you know what Muttala is what? Very idiot. How many times to call out for you? Am I right? Is it the right word? Muttala is idiot then. A brain dead fellow. Where are you, man? The wife thought, nothing can change this fellow. Next Janma, you will only go to hell. That is your karma. She thought to herself, even when you have to call the name of the servant Govinda, the word Govinda can't come to your tongue. So what karma somebody must have done? You see? So the objective of the thought of anchoring your mind onto Brahman, if you are able to do that, as I am here, You're shifting your thoughts to the other side. You're here, I'm working here, but I have no interest to anything that's happening here. I am dealing with you all. But where are my thoughts? My thoughts are somewhere else. What an outstanding experience, isn't it? I get all the benefit of being with you all, sharing my feelings and love with you all, but all my thoughts are somewhere else. As Oliver Goldsmith talks about a village preacher, and the end of that poem, he says, to them, he talks about his giant personality, what a great personality he was. He said, to them, his heart, his love, his griefs were given. Means he shared his feelings and emotions with people. He was very much available for them, but all his serious thoughts had rest in heaven. I repeat, to them, his heart, his love, his griefs were given, but all his serious thoughts had rest in heaven. As some tall cliff that lifts its awful form, swells from the vale and midway leaves the storm. Are you all with me? You all know this poem, isn't it? Who is it who knows poetry? Shiva? Terima? Oliver Goldsmith, sir. To them. இல்லையா
எங்க ஊர்ல இல்ல
உங்க ஊர்ல இல்லையா ஆமா என் ஊர்ல இருக்கு இதெல்லாம்
இல்ல no I have not read much of
right. No, you should get hold of this poem. Outstanding classical works. To them his heart, his love, his griefs were given, but all his serious thoughts had rest in heaven. As some tall cliff that lifts its awful form, swells from the vale and midway leaves a storm. Though round its breast the rolling clouds are spread, eternal sunshine settles on its head. He's talking about a man. He compares him to a lighthouse. When you look at a lighthouse, you see all the clouds. He says the rolling clouds are only at the breast level, the midway level of the lighthouse. But the lighthouse is towered way right above the clouds where eternal sunshine settles on its head. But his emotions were very much there. So you should be able to relate with the world. You should be available for the people. You should be able to give your emotions. You should be able to feel for the people. And yet, so the mind has the emotions, but your intellect is well anchored on the higher thoughts, on the higher aspects of life, on the grandeur of what the purpose of life. What makes your life grand is the purpose for which you work. So the purpose you must ultimately work for is Brahmani Adhaya. So everything you do must be done with the only objective of attaining Brahman. Nothing less than it. So you're here and you're shifting your thoughts elsewhere to the other side. And if you do that, as the verse says, such a person is not tainted by sin. Sin is the mental agitation. So mentally you are insulated by all that happens around you. It's like you are committing a murder on the stage. Will you be arrested for that murder? Brutal murder on the stage. Brutus, along with conspirators, killed Caesar. Assassin Caesar. Where? On stage. Is Brutus going to be arrested? He's not going to be arrested. No sin. Now, but you and I, when we do actions, are we committing a sin? Yes or no? We are committing a sin. It's relative. There are some actions which there is no sin at all. There are certain actions which cause a lot of mental remorse, mental agitation. That is sin. Now, why is it that your actions are incurring sin? Kusumama, you're trying to answer, so I can Love to hear from you.
Guilty.
Sin or guilt is the same. But when we perform certain actions, we experience a sense of guilt or sin or mental remorse. Why are we feeling? But a person who is on the stage, he doesn't incur any sin. Why is it we are incurring sin?
No idea.
No idea. No problem. No problem. Annapurnama, why are we incurring sin?
Namaste, Guruji. I think individually, when one individual performs an inappropriate action, which his consciousness knows it is wrong, but it alerts him. But in spite of that, that individual goes ahead and performs that action, then he is bound to feel guilty because it is not to be done.
Ma, the question, a fellow does a murder on the stage, he doesn't commit a sin. Correct? The same thing,
Okay.
1/10 of it, 1/10, you're not committing a murder, 1/10 of a similar act you commit. Why do we commit a sin? What relieves a person
impulse.
on the stage from sin? What commits you to committing a sin?
Is it a collective action? This
Collective
happens
action,
on the stage.
I am not part of that collective action. Collective action என்னது?
நிறைய பேர் சேர்ந்து ஒரு
I have to kill some fellow on the stage. அதுல என்ன collective action? ஆமா ஆமா தானே? See, I'm only trying. No problem. No, my job is only to sometimes make you understand, sometimes confuse you more. But today I will make it clear, not confuse you all. Saringla? Okay. Yeah, Tinkima. Can't hear you.
So when we perform actions in daily lives, there is a sense of doership, and therefore there is a sense of attachment, and therefore we are actually we are responsible. We've made a choice to do a particular action. On the stage, it's more of play acting. It's not. It's just performing a role.
No, don't dismiss just the stage acting. That person gives his life to it.
Yeah, it is, but
it makes you feel as if there's it is reality on the stage. It is not just a drama.
But it's actually not done. They don't really kill the person.
But it makes you feel that as if they've killed a person. You get so engrossed. You get so carried away by the role, don't you?
Yes, that is true. But it's only briefly for that. You are aware that you are doing a role and that you need to do your best. But in daily life,
Tinkima, the great sayings of William Shakespeare, he said, all the world is a stage.
Wow.
All men and women are mere players. All have exits and entrances. You fail to realize that you're also on a stage, my dear.
Yes.
So why do you differentiate that as just an acting? This is real life. Nah.
Because when I'm doing it on stage, I am aware that I'm playing a role. Although I will play it so well that the audience may not think it's, they will actually be carried away and think that I'm actually doing, it's so powerfully executed. But in real life, we are so immersed, we are not aware. We are just doing things because of our vasanas. We are used to doing it in a certain
Don't blame the vasanas, for God's sake.
But they are mine only, na?
Then therefore you blame them, huh? Arre, ye kya baat hui? Just because you're vasanas, you blame them, is it? I can't understand. Oh, it is my thing, my property, I can do what I want to it. No, please don't do that. You can't blame vasanas for it. No, I'm along with you. I know what you're saying, but that doesn't give what I'm looking at. In fact, don't lose the context of discussion. That's the verse we are. In fact, I'm trying to explain Brahmani Adhaya Karmani. So when your actions are anchored with the higher thought, he says you do not incur a sin. Then I gave the example of a murder on stage vis-a-vis our normal activities where we incur sin, but the man on that stage doesn't incur sin. And then I asked, what is the difference? Okay, let me connect with others. Anybody else? Yes, Hyderabadji, you wanted to say something?
Intention, because that person has no intention. He's like a soldier who performs on the battlefield. He has to kill the enemy. It's to save the nation. He follows the order and he does it. So he won't feel guilt.
Yeah, we have gone through this context in this context, this concept we have discussed. Then we spoke about intention, but now we are not talking of intention.
Then he is not anchored with Brahman.
No, just because I say this, no, you're switching your answer. Too smart, you all are. I tell you, very difficult dealing with you all. The context is, where is your attention? What are you identifying with? So keep always, think, it's very important you think along the speaker, provided the speaker is thinking rationally. And I will not leave the presence of the concept or the line of thought I've got into for the day or for the discussion. I will not go here by wander and then confuse you. I may take many examples, but I'm always anchored to what I'm talking about. So I'm coming back. My pivot is Brahmani Adhaya Karmani. So when you do actions with this kind of mindset, your actions do not incur sin.
Guruji.
Solungamma. Hari-om. Sorry, Manin Chingo.
In a stage.
This is the first time I heard so much loud voice from Gayatri Ma. Maybe she is angry. Maybe she had to wait a little longer until I looked at her. Manin Chingama, please.
No, Guruji, in a stage we are very much disidentify ourselves from the role we are playing. Whereas in real life, we get identified through the action and whatever we are performing. That is the reason why there is a sin, and in the stage there is no sin at all.
110 marks out of 100. Pass. Perfect. This is what I said. This is what I'm looking at. A person on the stage, he is performing the role, but he is not identifying with the role, isn't it? So what is he identifying with?
He is identifying himself away from the role, that he is different from the person what he is performing.
Correct. Example, Thomas is playing the role of Brutus, where Brutus has to kill Caesar on the stage. So when the Thomas is playing the role of Brutus, right throughout, what is his identity as Brutus? Brutus knows he is not Brutus, he is only Thomas. Before the role, while he is doing the role, after the role, his identification is only with Thomas. I have got nothing to do with the stage or the happenings on the stage, but I will get onto the stage and I'll do my role to the best of my ability, but I have got nothing to do with what's happening on the stage. Right through, before, while, after, his identity is on Thomas. Now, when you and I do the role, we are identifying ourselves with Brutus. We have forgotten that we are Thomas. We have forgotten that we are someone else. If we have completely caught up with the various roles of a father or a mother or a son or a daughter or a son-in-law or a teacher or a student, whatever roles you are playing, you have got yourself caught up in it. You're completely attached to it. And therefore, you're committing a sin. If you can go about playing the very same role, disassociating with it, How is that possible? By identifying your mind to something higher. To what? Brahmani adhaya karmani. Can your mind go that lofty as Brahman? If you say no, don't worry. Next verse is there. It's not this or that. No, no. Here he's talking about a jnani. Jnani is at a very high spiritual level where he's able to associate with the thought of Brahman. Since his thoughts are so established on Brahman, he will not commit any sin. He may do many a thing, but he is completely pure, just like a lotus leaf in water. Padma patramivam bhasaha. He's there and yet he's not there. You know, there's a simple story, an innocuous story of a kingdom. They had this rule. They used to appoint a king, and the king used to rule the kingdom for an appointed 5 years only. And after 5 years, the rules of that kingdom was that the king would be picked up by force, paraded through the streets, carried across the mighty river to the other side of the banks, and he would be thrown away to his mercy. There's nothing there. It's just the wild jungle. So if he survives, he survives. If he's mauled and killed by the wild animals, that's his fate. But for those 5 years, he is the king. And there was a process how they used to pick. And that guy, the first year, that guy he's become royalty. He's become the king. Can you imagine all that luxury and power and everything at your disposal? And as years roll by, the second year, the third year, the parties became smaller. Slowly, the reality started sinking into him that he will be actually thrown to the other side, and he don't know what would his fate be. And this has been the tradition. At one stage, there was a young chap who was elected as a king. The only difference with this man was, as the years rolled by, the parties became bigger. The fun became grander. His life was as if there is no tomorrow. He was having fun. So much so, the fifth year, he used to have grand exhibitions, invited people from all over the world, and he had great fun. And so much so, few months to his term finishing, the elder ministers called on the king and say, royalty, we just want to bring to your attention, you know what's going to happen to you. Come 2 months down the road, your term is going to finish and you're going to be thrown on the side of the river. And you know what your fate is going to be. He said, nah, don't worry. I am very much aware of that. Let's enjoy life. And that's how he was having. They thought this fellow is a cuckoo. This power and all this enjoyment has got into his head. Moham has got a delusion. Never mind, let this leave to this fellow. So as he was being paraded, the appointed day came, he was being paraded to the riverbank. And he was having fun, and he was actually giving away gifts and throwing gold coins and whatnot. They thought this is the last time we'll be seeing this mad fellow. He doesn't know what is going to happen to him. He got into the boat, waving his hands to everyone, bidding farewell, and very soon thereafter he got into conversation with the boatman. He said, how much are you paid for ferrying people from this side to other? Because there's only one-way traffic because there's nothing there. And his business is once in a while something is to be done, he does. He said, I get this amount, X amount I get for doing this work. Then he said, would you be interested to ferry people from that side to here? He said, I'm sorry, what are you talking? He said, in fact, what the king had done, the moment he became the king, unlike the other people, the first thing he became the king, he sent his team of people to the other side of the river, along with the planners, the architects and the designers, with the bulldozers, with the workmen, with the mason, and actually beyond the vision of the people, deep in the jungle, he actually built a beautiful, massive city, a huge royal city for himself, where he's going to be a permanent king. And as a king, he could do what he wanted. Nobody could question. And he did that in the first 5 years. So as he was here, which is only a temporary king, he shifted his thoughts to the other side, where he was the permanent king. So the difference between this young man vis-a-vis others, their thoughts were only limited to that. But this man shifted his thoughts to the other side. Beyond the temporal, beyond the impermanent, he had a permanent abode. Similarly, all of us know our life is impermanent here. And even this impermanent life, you are living with full of attachments, full of repercussions, facing consequences of attachments. We don't realize that I can live a life of a sinless worlds. I will live a life free from sin. I will be transported to the worlds which is of the sinless worlds. So not only am my life is beautiful here. When there's a next birth, my next birth also is actually very well insured, very well taken care of, because this is what is called as smart investment. Is it not? You have invested so well that even your future birth is taken care of. In fact, in the 6th chapter, very soon we'll get there. In the 6th chapter, Arjuna asks this question to Krishna. In the 38th verse, 37th verse of chapter 6. Take a note, 37th verse of chapter 6. Arjuna asks a question. One who possesses Shraddha, I have the Shraddha, but for some reason, the mind wanders away from yoga and I fail to attain perfection. I don't attain the goal of realization, but I'm very sincere. I'm committed. My mind is anchored in Brahman, but I don't attain Brahman this birth. What would happen to such a person? In the 41st verse, he says, Prapya punya kritam lokan ushitva shashvati samah suchinam shrimatam gehe yoga bhrashto bhajayate. So he answers in 41st and the 42nd verse. In the 41st verse, he says, having attained the worlds of the righteous and having dwelt there for eternal years, he is born into the family of the pure and the wealthy. Next birth, next janma, he says, because of your karma, because of your seva, because of your intention to get to Brahman, and you have fallen short of it. Next janma, what has happened? Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Bhrashto Bhajayate. You are born into the family of the pure and the wealthy. So you will get the material comfort and the spiritual exposure. You will find yourself perfectly suited where you will continue where you left. Athava yoginameva kule bhavati dhimata yet etad vidurlabhataram loke janma yadidrisham. Chapter 6 verse 42, he says, or he is born into the family of the wise yogis only. That indeed is very difficult to obtain in this world. Very difficult to be born into the families of the wise yogis only. That's a rare birth indeed. But if you switch your attention onto the higher and carry on your work, if you fail, nothing is lost. If you win, you have gained everything. The only thing that you carry with you when you die, what's the only thing that you carry with you when you die? Hariji, what is the only thing that we carry when we leave this body?
Your subtle body. subtle body.
Can you answer in any other way?
My vasanas and my vasanas
And
subtle body.
no, that happens. The transference of it is the death. Means when your subtle body moves on, which is your mind and intellect, your vasanas. But in terms of what is carried forward from here into the next birth,
Prarabdha.
no. No, you're technical, right? But in the context, I'm asking, what is it that is carried forward?
Is your audio on?
Yeah.
If it's on, then that's
No.
The answers that are flowing in is, they're saying vasanas, karmas, samskara, your punya and papa, unfulfilled desires, fire tablet. The fire tablet is saying unfulfilled desires.
Yeah, that is the.
What is true? You know fire tablet? I don't know who is that fire tablet. It comes with a fire. So the fire of desires are carried forward. What is it that's carried? Okay, what is it that is not carried forward? Hariji. What is it that's not carried forward? What is it we can't take with us?
Our material, whatever the exhausted vasanas.
Exhausted vasanas, who's bothered? I'm not bothered. What I can't take with me is anything material, anything worldly, your relationships, your family, your belongings, none of it can be carried forward.
Yeah.
Including your knowledge, you cannot carry forward. The only thing that is carried forward is your wisdom. The spiritual wisdom, or the opposite of that is your ignorance in the form of your vasanas. All right. So when wisdom is how much I have unfolded the self, to that extent I will start. If I have reached 70%, next Janma I'll start from 71. If I have acquired ignorance in the form of desires, I will start from there. If at all you want to add something to it, you can add your punya and papa, the sins, the merits and demerits of your actions which you performed. For some reason they didn't fructify here. It's not necessary everything you do fructifies here, isn't it? So it's carried forward. So in essence, you carry forward your wisdom and your fruits of your action. That's about all. So live your life here in a way that your future is secure, your present is immaculate, you are not committing any sin, and there's a guarantee that you will carry forward your work much better, with much greater fervor, with much greater intensity. I can't think of any better offer than this. If you are smart, you'll clinch this offer. But sir, I can't think of Brahman. No, Brahman is too high. Okay. Lord Krishna is very accommodative. Since you can't think of Brahman, verse 11. Okay. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalairindriyairapi yogina karma kurvanti sangham tyaktvatma shuddhaye. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalairindrirairapi yogina karma kurvanti sangham tyaktvatma shuddhaye. Outstanding. You got to tune to these verses. The outstanding message. He says the yogis. The yogis, he says. Yoginaha. You note he's putting it in plural. It's not singular. The yogis, having abandoned attachment, perform action merely by the senses, body, mind, and intellect for self-purification. Atma Shuddhaye. They are not able to think of Brahmanyadhaya. As I've said, Brahman is the highest, the loftiest goal. It is the Mount Everest of all goals. It is too lofty for some. If you can't attune to that, he says, okay, man, never mind. You do all what you're doing. Engage your body, your senses, engage your body, engage your mind, engage your intellect. For what? Everything that you're doing, you're only doing it for Atma Shuddhaye, for your own self-purification. Now, this is such a broad context. He leaves it to you to imagine what is your concept of self-purification. What is purifying yourself for your own self-development? Now, the sheer fact that he puts it in plural, why does he put it in plural? Harishji, why does he put this verse in plural? Harishji.
Hari Om Guruji.
Ishu, not Hari, Ishu. The Ishuda I said. Unless I'm not pronouncing the word correctly. Harish, Sh. Now I will only call Ishu from now on, then you will know it is you.
Correct.
Correct. Correct, Hariji. Ishu solana Harish jada. Yes, Ji.
Because he is referring to all, this applies to everybody. It is not only to one. So anybody who performs actions without attachment, this is the result.
I caught you in your moments of lack of concentration. That is not the right answer, sir. Rajima.
Guruji, the only thing that you carry forward is your punya and papa and the wisdom you said.
Okay.
So the yogis now, therefore, there are many yogis who have now abandoned this attachment. Having understood this, they have abandoned the attachment. Is that possible, Guruji?
No, that's very much possible. But
And is it right?
Not right. Possible, it's very much possible. Who am I to say not possible? Huh? Okay. Asha ma, are you following ma? Why does he use the word yogis as plural? Whereas in 8, 9 and 10 he uses singular.
I suppose he means that you engage your body, mind, and intellect for self-purification. In the plural, I mean, to attach yourself to Brahman is singular. That is one goal. But if you can't attach yourself to that, then every action of yours that you perform, every thought you dedicate to the highest goal. No.
See, highest goal means Brahman. Go back
Brahman,
to verse,
yeah,
verse 10.
yeah, yeah.
But here he is not talking of Brahman. Here he is
Correct.
talking
What
of
he's
people.
saying is,
He is talking of people who can't think of Brahman.
yeah,
See, I can't think of Brahman.
yes,
Then what is my hope? To people like me who can't think of Brahman, he's saying, man, never mind, put Brahman aside. You think of self-purification first. That may
yeah.
be helpful to you. But when he
So
talks of self-purification,
see Brahman in every person you come
no,
across.
Brahman you are not able to see.
Yeah.
Brahman is verse 10. Now we are on verse 11. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you can't see Brahman, start with self-purification.
Yeah, you engage your body, mind, intellect
For
self-purification.
yes, but my question is, the verse starts out by saying he uses the word yogis. Now, ma, these three spiritual seekers we have been hearing from the chapter beginning: a jnani, a sannyasi, and a
Sannyasi
yogi.
and a yogi.
Correct, Anna? Are you following these three?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Verse
Yeah.
8 and 9, he spoke about a jnani.
Jnani. Yeah.
Verse 10, he spoke about a
Sannyasi.
Verse 11, he's talking about
Yogis.
yogis. Correct.
So all of us are yogis.
Now we are talking. Why you are saying all of us are yogis? Why is plural? He doesn't say jnanis. He doesn't say sannyasis. He says a jnani, a sannyasi, yogis. The grammatical construction I'm talking. So when do you say plural?
All inclusive.
When there's more than one.
More than one, yeah.
More than one or two, you say it is plural. So when he uses the word yogi, yogi also is a spiritual practitioner. But when he makes it plural, it means there are
all
many.
Of us.
No. There are many who belong to this category of spiritual beginners.
Beginners, yeah.
So the by merely using the word plural, he says it is voluminous. They are numbers.
Yeah. Numbers.
So many belong to this category. That's what he's trying to convey by even the grammatical usage.
Correct.
My duty is only to point out what is there. There's so much. I can't afford to do it in greater detail. But here and there, wherever there's a possibility, I am only trying to give an insight so that you can explore. If something fascinates you, you can always take it up and pursue it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Sitaramji.
Yeah, I think what, like you explained just now, what it amounts to saying is that the difficulty in realizing the self is very, very high. So he's still holding out hope for people like us mortals that, we can still try and achieve the thing, though the path may be difficult. So we are starting from the yogi level. There are multitudes of us, and do not lose hope if you do not reach to the next or the other stage, because as he says, those people are very few. The sannyasis and the jnanis are very few. Yogis are many. So don't lose hope, because all of us are the same boat. Please keep trying to achieve the self.
No, I think.
Am I making sense?
No, perfect sense. But you have a little flavor of Sitaramji also has got into the Gita here.
Possibly.
No. He is not saying that you should not have hope or anything here. He's only talking about that, as you rightly said, that when you talk a cross section of people, you find the top are very few. Like even an organization has 10,000 people or even 1,000 people. How many people in the organization will have the caliber of being a CEO of an organization, can run the huge organization? one or two, isn't it? If not
Exactly.
two, three, or you can have a choice to choose from the cream of the management. You can pick up even an ordinary employee. If he is capable of, you can say he is fit to run the organization, but is he capable of? In terms of capacity, you will only find that sense. So you find in every facet of life, you find where there is quality, there is no quantity. This is a thumb rule of life. Where there is quality, there is no quantity. You look at the rarest of plants. You will not find the rarest of plants in abundance. The most valuable wood, teak wood, it's not available in abundance, is it? It is so precious, it's so rare, it is so protected because it's not common. But it is I'm just taking an example. It is perhaps the most precious of all wood. You will not find roses and lilies growing everywhere. You will find ordinary flowers growing everywhere. But you find rose, you need to, or tulips. You will not find tulips growing in the wild. You will not, isn't it? So you see the plant kingdom, you see the animal kingdom. You find the most, the king of birds, you say the eagle, vis-a-vis the other birds, sparrows and pigeons and other birds, flamingos. You'll find thousands of flamingos, but you'll not find thousands of vultures. You'll find a very few. The king of birds, applicable same. You will find one shark or one whale in the sea, but you will find hundreds and thousands of all other fishes. They need numbers, they need strength. Where there is quality, there is no quantity. You will find the billionaires in the world. I'm talking the same line. The real wealthy people are very few. I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm only just saying what life is. Even I took the example of in an organization, you'll find only very few have the mental capacity to run an organization. Whether it be 1,000 people or 30,000 people, it doesn't make a difference thereafter because they have the mental capacity. How many amongst us have scaled the Mount Everest? In 8 billion people, how many even attempted scaling Mount Everest? Forget how many have been successful. How many qualify themselves to even scale the Mount Everest? Now, I have a certain passion for mountaineering and I outrightly disqualify myself. I am not qualified. I'm disqualified to even attempt scaling Mount Everest. It's a different ball game altogether. The moment you go out, you'll see hundreds and thousands of cars. How many Rolls Royce do you see? Sitaramji, how many Rolls Royce do you see?
Very few.
If at all you see.
Yeah.
Very, very rare, isn't it?
That's right.
Similarly, where there is that quality of being at the level of a jnani, you are a pinnacle of human perfection. They are rare indeed, but that doesn't mean you and I cannot reach it, and it's not our birthright. It is our birthright to get to that goal of realization. They're only giving us the path to get there. The path is start from a yogi, get to a sannyasi, then reach a state of jnani. That's all they're saying here. So the main, yes, Hariji.
Can we interpret it also that a jnani or a sannyasi, he sees him in all and all in him, so there is only one, which is not the case of yogi. The yogi, since he has not reached at that stage, he still sees everybody as individuals. Whereas a jnani, for him, there is only one.
Yeah. Now, my humble request to those who are attending the classes, who are putting on their videos, please there is a certain etiquette you have to follow. You got to be presentable, because these classes are being recorded. They will be, they are being captured. They are being broadcasted on various other platforms. So it's being watched. So you are presenting yourself out to be seen out there. And so please be presentable. Do not eat while you're attending the class. You're not watching a movie here, please. You're not watching a television here. You are insulting a guru by eating while you're listening and talking. Please don't do that. I've seen people doing it, and right now I had seen someone, I don't want to mention names, no personal hard feelings here, but you must respect it. It's not something, it's a casual activity here. Please don't, it's not going to augur right attention, and it was distracting me. In fact, I was almost about to type. In fact, those who are responsible, please make sure when you see people are not presentable, please make sure you switch off their cameras. I think that's what you have been given the role to do that. Whoever is not presentable, please don't give them the access. If you're not responsible, we will have to take a call, because not at the cost of distracting the whole proceedings. And it's not to offend anyone, but you have to be very, very careful. We have made repeated announcements in the past. Okay. So please be presentable. Okay. It almost put me off balance, off my thought. I'm not lost my cool, but it just puts me off focus, because I can't, it can't carry on like, I can't carry on. Okay. Hariji, I get what you're saying when you talk of a jnani, where a jnani sees himself in everything and everything in him. If I have lost my cool, if I'm agitated, I will not remember what Hari has said. I will tell him, can you please repeat what you said? So I'm not agitated at all. I'm very much in my senses. I will make very much sense to you all. But I just had to make it a point, because I noted it. It kept repeating itself over many, many weeks, and those responsible are not doing the right action. So you should ensure that they're not given the access until they request and say they are presentable. Okay. So that is in terms of a jnani, Hariji. But we have put jnani status, that's the enlightened state. A sannyasi, we have dealt in detail. Now we are talking about yogi who embarks on a spiritual journey for purifying himself, for his own self-purification. Okay? Is that okay, Hariji? Perfect. Right. Yes, Annapurnama.
Guruji, to borrow your example, can we put it like this? Like people aspiring to climb Mount Everest, yogis are at the base campus, but as they go proceed higher, there will be very few like jnanis and sannyasis. So that's why it's mentioned in plural as yogis.
Yogi is not at base camp. Yogis are ground level. Ground level.
Okay.
Everest, even to reach Everest base camp, it takes 2 weeks of serious trekking, where you will be deprived of oxygen. You will have to push your body to limits. And I know what it is. That's why I'm saying.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
So
Yes.
a yogi is at the sea level. Maybe having crossed the Everest base camp, then you go to camp 1, camp 2. Perhaps you are a,
sannyasi.
After the base camp, the maximum number of deaths happen while people trying to climb Everest is after leaving the base camp. When they want to go to camp 1, there is a section known as Kumbhu Falls. Kumbhu Falls, and that is a section where the entire ice that is there goes through a lot of shift and there are serious avalanches. So many people die even before reaching camp 1. I'm telling because there's so much study I've done, and I was about to get on the flight to get to the Everest base camp, and then this lockdown happened. So we prepared.
Yes, Guruji. I read in your profile.
Yes. But I've done other trails, going to similar heights and things. So
Yes.
camp 1, camp 2, camp 3, maybe you're a jnani. And then after the last camp where I think you go to that peak summit, then you are a jnani. Yogi, sea level, then you reach a sannyasi somewhere, and then a jnani.
And Jnani, then Brahman.
You're taking the example. Since you take the example.
Thank you, Guruji.
Yeah. Now, what you must understand where Lord Krishna is coming from. Every action, any action where there is a level or sense of attachment, that action is sinful. Padminima, are you following? In the previous verse, the 10th verse we understood that any action which causes a mental agitation or a sin or a remorse is wrong, isn't it? And that happens when you develop an attachment to an action. So attachment is sinful. So when you get on to performing action, wanting to purify the attachment and the sin from the action is self-purification. I want to perform an action. A sannyasi is a very high level, but a yogi is trying to act. Like you could be a mother, you are a mother-in-law, you are a grandmother, you are a teacher. You are playing various roles, isn't it? Now, while you're doing various roles, I'm sure you don't want to commit a sin, isn't it? You want to live a life of guilt-free, be mentally peaceful and calm, isn't it? How to achieve that state of detachment? You perform action for self-purification. So the goal you're aspiring is to get rid of the attachment from the action. And the yogis are striving to perform action free from attachment, free from desire. Now, I want you all to come up with your ideas as to what is your concept of self-purification. How do you approach or how do you understand the concept of self-purification at the spiritual level? Unless or until you have a clarity of the goal, you will not be able to aspire for it. So what is your understanding of the concept of self-purification? How can you describe self-purification as a spiritual goal? So the question is, how do you describe, how do you understand, or rather, let's rephrase it, describe self-purification as a spiritual goal. Describe self-purification as a spiritual goal. I've given one element of it. I already said self-purification is to purify your actions of attachments, isn't it? So I would strive to live a life free from attachment. Now how further can you picturize that goal of self-purification? Self-purification also is a goal, but how do you picturize it? Vasantama, the question clear, huh?
Yes, Guruji, it is clear.
Can you repeat for us, ma?
Describes self-purification as a spiritual goal.
Yeah, describe self-purification as a spiritual goal. think about it. We'll come back with all your thoughts and answers. If you can share it in the satsang group, little closer to the next class, we can recall your comments, or you can give your comments in the chat when we come back to this question next week. Okay? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.